In this video, we are going to be answering the age-old question of grey wash. Do you go with pre-made or do you have your very own one bottle of black and a drop system? What is popping, people? And welcome back to another tattoo tips video. Now, both have their benefits and both have their cons, obviously. So we're gonna go down those benefits and those cons. Now, there's not a lot, but hopefully it's enough for you guys to make your own decision on whether you should go with the pre-made or with your own drop system. For those who are not familiar with the drop system is when you take a bottle of black and you have your ink cup set out and you put a certain amount of drops in every single ink cup, and then you fill up those ink cups with distilled water or a shading solution. Some guys actually use witch hazel, which I do not recommend due to some people and some clients, should I say, having witch hazel allergies, which they do not know about because, let's be honest, who uses witch hazel in their everyday life? So I do not use witch hazel, but that is what a drop system is. Pre-made, obviously, it is the grey wash you buy from the manufacturer that are made up and bottled, ready to go. So first, let's talk about the advantages of pre-made. Now, pre-made is what I currently use and have done for the last 8 or 9 years of my tattoo career. Now, the first has got to be consistency. You know that when you pour that pigment into that ink cup every single day, that it is the exact same as it was the previous day and the previous day and the previous day before that. It is consistent throughout the entire bottle of that pre-made wash, which for me is a massive thing. I know that if I do a tattoo that I really love and I really love the values in it, that I can replicate those values and those tones every single time because I am using pre-made. So consistency is the #1 advantage for me for pre-made washes. Next up is the ease of use, the ease of just being able to grab the bottle and pour it into the ink cup, rather than on a drop system having to grab the bottle and just drip, drip, drip. On to the next one. Drip, 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 drip. So you've got the ease of use, all right? I love that. But another big advantage is it keeps things simple. Pre-made washes come generally as a light, medium, dark. All right, you have 3 washes right there, keeping it nice and simple. Light tone, light. Medium tone, medium. Dark, dark. And then you'll have black. Now, some pre-made come with like very light, light, medium, dark, or very light, medium, no, very light, light, medium, dark, very dark, and black. But for the most part, generally, it is kept very, very simple. Now on to what I think is the biggest disadvantage of a pre-made wash, and that is you have your light, medium, and dark tones. However, the jump from light to medium, from medium to dark, and from dark to black is too little. When I'm doing my black and grey, if I have a gradient that goes from black all the way through to light, I like that transition to be nice and subtle. There shouldn't be a bit where you can see where the black starts and stops, and then you have a slight blend, and then you go into your dark. But that slight blend in the middle isn't enough to blend from that black into that dark. I want a nice clean transition all the way through. And some grey washes don't offer that. The jump is too big. The only wash that I ever found that offered that subtleness and that, consistency throughout the blend was Silverback Insta range, which is the one that I use because it goes from 1 to 10. It goes through the entire range of grey washes and then you just pick what you need. Unfortunately, due to the reach, call it reach, and I'm doing this because it's absolute dog shit, let's be honest, right? They're trying to bring in a lot. Anyway, listen, let's forget about that. Anyway, Silverback is gone. Silverback is no more. Silverback has stopped manufacturing until they can sort out these reach standards. So I am unfortunately back to this very choice myself of whether I find another pre-made or I go to drop systems. So maybe I will actually watch this video and take my own advice. Which takes us on to the disadvantage. Brands may change the formula of their grey wash or may even discontinue that grey wash. Or, you know, some other organization could come in and stop your brand from making that grey wash. So that is a big, big disadvantage to pre-made. So take that into account. So now let's talk about the advantages of a drop system. You have complete control over your washers. If you want to make 4 different values, you can make 4 different values. If you want to make 9 different values of grey wash, you can make 9 different values of grey wash, each specifically made to how you want it. It genuinely gives you the freedom to do with your washers what pre-made just doesn't, unless you find a pre-made that did do that and now it's been took away from you. Can you tell them a little bit salty about this? A drop system has all the advantages of a pre-made system without the disadvantages, unless they stopped making the, you know, the bottle of black that you use. But now on to the disadvantage of the drop system, and one of the biggest disadvantages for me on my choice to use a drop system over pre-made. And that is the inconsistency of a drop system. So say you are doing your drop system, you are doing 1, 2, 3. Then you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What happens if you pour an extra drop or you miscount? The inconsistency for that is just too much for me to consider a drop system at the moment. Now I know what you're saying, it's not hard to count. But then you've also got the inconsistencies of smaller drops versus bigger drops. You know, if you put in a smaller drop in, then a bigger drop, then a smaller drop, then a big drop, you know, it's just too inconsistent for me. It really is. And then we have got the simple factor of using a certain sized ink cup all the time. Say you use a 14mm ink cup and you base your drop system off of those 14mm ink cups, and you have done a million tattoos off the back of the 14mm ink cup drop system. You've got sleeves on the go, everything is based off of that, and then suddenly you find yourself not being able to get 14mm ink cups. Because trust me, it does happen. It really does happen. You then have to use, say, a 17mm ink cup, or even like the really big ones, like the 20+mm ink cups. You've completely messed up your drop system having to use those bigger cups. Now you could try and compensate for the bigger ink cup, but are you really going to get it right and consistent to what your drop system was? You just aren't. If you was to use the same amount of drops in a bigger cup, then you are putting in more distilled water or shading solution, making those washers lighter. So across the board, drop systems are just too inconsistent for me. Now you might think, are you really going to notice in a sleeve or in a piece side by side? And the odds are is no, you won't. Unless it is a complete drastic change in drop system. But I know, and that's the biggest thing, I know. And my OCD would be in overdrive, mate. I've realized that I didn't actually give a definitive answer / conclusion to which you should pick. Now, I cannot tell you which to pick. I just can't. It's entirely up to you. You are going to have to try both systems if you are looking for a grey wash. For me, however, I would always go with pre-made. If I can find a pre-made that works well for me on getting the type of transitions that I want in my actual piece. If I cannot find a pre-made wash that can do that, then unfortunately I would have to go to a drop system and figure it out along the way. But guys, that is all for today. If you are new around here, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notifications to get notified every time I upload a new video. If you are wanting any extra benefits, then there is a Patreon link in the description where it'll take you to a private Discord server where you can ask all the questions you want and get private critiques, etc, etc, etc. But guys, I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.